Hi, I'm Ursula Luna Dakini, and I'll be talking about relationship astrology. In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 things in astrology that makes a relationship work or brings challenges. And so let's get started. And I'll be your guide today to relationship astrology, and you can check out my work at lunadakini.com. So in this particular video, I'll be going over um, 10 things regarding relationship astrology. And the first one is compatibility. We're going to be talking about how the different sun signs get along with each other. And the second point is Venus, the goddess of love. Then we're going to be talking about our moon sign, how that might affect a relationship. And then the seventh, which the seventh house, which is the relationship house. And then the fifth house, the house of romance. Then I'll be talking about Mercury, which is about communication. And then aspects, harmonious or difficult aspects between planets can greatly improve or worsen the quality of relationship. And then Juno, the relationship marriage asteroid. And then I'll be introducing astrological relationship techniques, which is synastry and composite charts. And then and then we'll take a look at timing. When will I meet the one? So the sun sign has a has great significance in its relationship astrology, especially in the long run. So why is this? Because certain elements naturally work better together. So, for example, fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they would get along with each other, first of all. But then, the same way that fire and air work together naturally in nature, like fire needs oxygen to burn, the same way fire signs get along with air signs. So, air signs are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Um, and And then air signs get along with each other and also with fire signs. And in the same way that fire and air work together, also fire signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, they get along, first of all, with each other, but then also they form a sextile aspect. So they get along naturally along with the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So this is just an overall aspect comparison between the sun signs. It's not so it's just the first step in relationship astrology. It's not the final say in anything, but it certainly is important. So when we're talking about compatibility, we're mainly looking at element compatibility. So again, the signs that share the same element form harmonious, in other words, a trine aspect with each other, and the signs that are compatible form a sextile aspect to each other, to them. So then let's say you have Gemini and you have Cancer. They don't see each other um, according to traditional astrology, which is what I practice. So Gemini and Cancer would then have, because one is air and one is a water sign, they would have a little bit more difficulty understanding each other. And then the second big point is Venus, the goddess of love. So Venus is above all the planet of relationships, um, and the goddess of relationship. And her task is to bring things and people together, just like Mars. Mars's task is to separate, the same way Venus brings things and people together. So Venus rules relationship, love life, women, fertility, harmony, balance, agreements, money, beauty, and art. Some of the negative sides may be vanity, fickleness, contradiction, jealousy. So the house sign where Venus is, especially compared to the partner, would then reveal a lot about the quality of the relationship. But also already where wherever Venus is in your chart and what sign and what house, that would also tell a lot. For example, Venus in Aries is tends to be um, passionate and spontaneous, whereas Venus in Capricorn takes love and commitment a bit more slowly and seriously. So Venus answers the question, Venus in a chart answers the question, what motivates me in a relationship? How do I love? How am I loved? So then the moon um, influences the tides on Earth, but also our emotions. So the moon is about subconscious mystery, mysterious. It's mysterious, changeable, and moody. Um, just like we don't always immediately know ourselves what causes certain feelings in us. Um, Sometimes our emotions are mysterious even to ourselves until we get a chance to process them. So the moon sign and house placement reveal a lot about our emotional life. And in relationship, it's important to know what aspects two people's moons form. Is it harmonious? Is it challenging? Do they see each other? So the moon shows subconscious emotional connection or its absence. So, for example, one person may be more logical and not show emotions easily, while the other person operates more emotionally and is very sensitive. So that can sometimes complement each other, or maybe it can also it might also be something that is challenging. So the seventh house is one of the most important houses in relationship astrology because it tells us about um, one's relationships and their quality. So one of the um, most popular questions is what does it mean if I don't have any planets in the seventh house? So it does not mean that you won't have any relationships. So what we would do in that case is simply look at the sign the seventh house rules and then locate that ruler. For example, if the seventh house is in the sign of Taurus, the ruler is Venus, and then we would look where Venus is located, what sign and what house. Also, the fifth house is the house of romance. It is the house of joy, anything that brings us joy, and um, relationships typically bring us joy. So fifth house um, would be something that would be important to look at in relationship astrology. And again, the planets and the signs in this house um, tell us what brings us joy or pleasure into one's life. And again, if you have no planets in this house, it doesn't mean that you won't have any romance. Again, we would look at um, the ruler of this house and then locate the planet and see what sign and house it is in and make the analysis based on that. So, although Venus often gets all the attention in relationships, communication is typically the most important factor, especially in long-term relationships. So, Mercury's sign, the sign that Mercury's in, and whether it's that element or aspect naturally matches your partner's Mercury. That tells us how easily communication flows. For example, air and fire signs communicate well with each other, as do water and earth signs. But for example, water and fire, not as easily, and air and earth not as easily. Um, and then if you and your partner's Mercuries do not even see each other at all, meaning they form no major aspect, this could be one of the challenging points in relationships. Again, for example, Gemini and Taurus, they don't form any aspects, so we say that they don't see each other. And it can be difficult, although absolutely not impossible. So again, when we're talking about aspects, so by comparing the planetary aspects in two people's charts, we can see the main things that work and the things that are challenging in the relationship. So again, trines are harmonious, sextiles are easy and natural. Oppositions are one of the most difficult. Square aspects are challenging, um, but they can still, again, we can see that, for example, Gemini and Sagittarius in opposition, and then Gemini and Pisces form a square. But again, they at least see each other. So there's something we can start to talk about it. Whereas when they don't make any aspects, then that can be difficult because in some way they don't get each other at all. Again, it gets complicated, but this is how we would start to um, create a relationship analysis. So again, the same aspect pattern applies to each sign. So you would always take this, whichever sign you pick, these arrows would always make the same aspects in this way, looking from that sign's point of view. So then another thing that we would look at is Juno, the relationship asteroid. And this is, she is about relationship, marriagement. So marriage, commitment, I think I combined those words there, and equality. So She is the protector of marriage and women. She symbolizes commitment, especially long-term partnerships in marriage. So the placement of Juno, again, the placement, the sign and the house on a chart shows what we can expect from a partner and what kind of balance we would have in a relationship. Um, Especially about loyalty, equality, jealousy, and power dynamics are also connected to this archetype. And we would study, this would tell us, how do I understand and experience commitment? What does an equal partnership mean to me? So then putting it all together, this is an example about a relationship. This is a synastry relationship technique. So in synastry, we simply take the chart of two people and compare them to each other and um, position them on top of each other, and the positions, the planets, are then examined in relation to one another. For example, here's Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. They were married for 10 years. And it's a great example of how you can see what really brought them together, because their Venus was in the same sign. They both had the same rising sign, Scorpio, and both had their moons in fire signs and created a trine aspect to each other. So Tom's moon in Leo trines Nicole's moon in Sagittarius. So on an emotional and passionate level, they really inspired each other. And Tom's moon is also aspects Nicole's Jupiter. So a lot of inspiration, a lot of passion here. But in the end, it's interesting that the sun signs, Tom is a Cancer and Nicole Gemini. As we have been going through, they don't form aspects to each other. So they don't, quote unquote, see each other. So because they don't form an aspect. And also Mercury, the planet of communication, also does not see the other person's Mercury. And neither does Mars. And which talks about our energy and what we're willing to fight for. So in many ways, they do not fundamentally understand each other in a long term. And they also have Chiron. Both have Chiron in the fifth house. So the house of romance, but also children. So indicating some sort of wound related to these themes. And then another technique that we would use is composite chart. A composite chart takes the midpoints of two individuals' planets and forms a new chart representing the relationship itself. And one of the most challenging aspects here is that Juno, the married asteroids, conjuncts Mars. So, Mars is about separating. So it is, it really shows this very a very kind of clear, very concrete example. Marriage is, so they will separate. Now, on one hand, it could talk about passion, But then, um, I mean, they were married for 10 years, so um, that is a long time, but no, in the end, it didn't last. So then also the fact that is their marriage and their composite chart, all of this, their Venus, midheaven, Mars, Juno, everything occurred in the 10th house, which is talks about public exposure. So their marriage was constantly in the tabloids in the early 2000s. So a very concrete, example. So then when we talk about timing, so the good, um, so the good part is that there are several possibilities regarding when you might meet the one. So the seventh house, relationship house transit, now Venus transits here about once a year. So that would be um, a very could be an auspicious time. And then also Jupiter transits uh, are relatively rare. They only happen every 12 years. So if Jupiter is in your first or the seventh or the fifth house, that would be something that I would pay attention to. Um, and also when Venus is there, but particularly Jupiter, especially if you have a day chart. And then again, the fifth house, the house of romance. If Venus is transiting here, Jupiter, or the rule of the ascendant, so that would be depend on the planet. In everybody's case, it's a different planet. And again, if Venus is transiting your first house, Jupiter is transiting your first house, or the rule of the seventh house. So there are a number of possibilities here. And then also um, in progressed charts, we would that's a little bit more advanced. Progressed planets, if they are making some sort of aspect to your natal chart, so that would also be something that I would pay attention to. So relationships are complicated, as we could see. We can there are many things that we can um, consider when looking at relationship astrology. So again, we looked at compatibility, Venus, the moon, the seventh house, the fifth house, Mercury, aspects, Juno, astrological techniques, synastry and composite charts, and timing. So if you are interested in personalized relationship reading, you can go to my website, lunatechini.com, and you can book a customized relationship reading. What is needed for that? You could provide, I would need both parties, birthday, birthplace, birth time. Birth time is very important. Um, Relationship reading can still be done without both parties' birth time, but preferably at least one, and even a rough estimate will be better than anything. And again, I recommend a 60-minute reading, but I also, you can also ask me and I can do a longer or a shorter relationship reading. So thank you. Thank you for your interest. So like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much.